Well, I mean, then Biden got to meet Xi Jinping, right? During APEC this year.
Yeah, and I think a lot of concessions had to be made. For instance, to get China's cooperation with stopping fentanyl, they had to remove sanctions on this one branch of, I forget what it was, but it was something that was sanctioned for Uyghur genocide, basically.
Okay. Didn't they already agree to stop fentanyl when Trump was in office?
And when
Yes.
Obama was in office? Yeah. Well, this is the whole thing. They use these things like, combating fentanyl, military to military communication, all of these things to get what they want from the U.S. And because of this, Kissinger era engagement school, which I think we've seen a resurgence in the Biden administration, the U.S. refuses to negotiate from a position of power.
Right.
When you said the thing about the resurgence, what just appeared in my mind's eye is Anthony Blinken's face during that press conference when the reporter asked if Biden would still call Xi Jinping a dictator.
Yeah.
And Biden was like, yeah, he's, from a communist country, et cetera, et cetera. And then, Blinken's face just...
Like, oh,
that was my favorite moment of the year.
Just absolutely, cringing.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is the same expression I have every time Blinken does something with respect to China, is me cringing at how dumb a thing Blinken just did. I mean, the fentanyl thing is not going to work. And the reason it's not going to work is because there's a deep ideological reason that the CCP exports fentanyl to the U.S. I mean, sure, they do it via Mexico and such, but they're using it as drug warfare against the U.S. And I think there's probably some of the revenge over the opium wars
which
going
the
on as well.
U.S. was not involved in.
I know, but it doesn't matter. It's the West, right?
It's all Western imperialism, Chris.
All Western imperialism.
So that deep vengeance from a century ago, compounded with this general communist drive to destroy the culture of the West, it's. I'm just saying it's such a big thing. They're not going to stop. And you'd have to take really massive action, and you'd have to deal with the Mexico situation in order to stop the illegal flow across.
Well, when you
the border.
say massive action, who do you mean would have to take massive action?
I mean, the U.S. would have to do something.
The U.S. Okay,
but I don't know what that is, because I'm not advocating for
number one.
war
This is what I was talking about with coming from a position of power. Instead of the U.S. giving China what it wants to get this useless cooperation on dealing with fentanyl, the U.S. could label this as part of, chemical warfare and actually treat it like that.
Right. Yeah. So, we could punish China, punish the CCP for the drug warfare. And then as part of a concession, we could back off on part of the punishment, right?
Rather than removing sanctions on things that are involved in persecution and genocide.
Absolutely. And the U.S. is in actually a better position now than we were a couple of years ago, right? Because China's economy has slowed so much. They are more dependent than ever on foreign direct investment. And anyone in the U.S. government who has any intelligence at all ought to understand that when your opponent's economy is really weak and they're depending on you, and you're not depending on them as much as you were in the past, you're obviously in a much better position than ever. So why would you make concessions that you don't need to?
Because, globalization, we need American multinational companies have convinced the U.S. government that we need to do business with China.
Yeah, well,
and then that ties into how devastated China's economy has been this year. Massive youth unemployment. They were reporting about 21%. A lot of people were thinking it was closer to 40, 50%. And then they just stopped reporting it, kind of like they did with COVID.
Yeah.
They just stopped reporting the numbers. So, nobody knows.
So
There's no problem
that
now.
the numbers are great. That's why they stopped reporting
that's
it.
So great. Demographic crisis is really heating up. So there are just so many. Manufacturing is down, exports are down.
You continue to see the unwinding of the real estate situation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the thing about the economic implosion of China is that it is a very slow motion economic implosion. And I think we'll continue to see that in 2024, but it won't necessarily be obvious because the way that the CCP has structured the economy, it's a controlled economy. So they have, the state has the ability to mask it in a way that's not easy to do with economies in the West in the same way. And they will be able to kind of smooth over certain things that they want to. Like they're not going to stop, for example, military spending, right? They're not going to stop like factory exports, like things that they depend on. What you might see are things like, all the money that was promised to these countries through the Belt and Road Initiative. I think that's going to start like evaporating pretty quickly as they need to kind of stop spending that money overseas and focus on the domestic economy.
Which could give the U.S. A real good opportunity, assuming that like we take advantage of it.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, looking at what's happening with the Pacific Islands, if we're very good at taking advantage of that.
No, definitely not.
But I mean, to the extent that other countries are gonna get fed up with the Belt and Road broken promises. I mean, Italy was like one of the first European countries to jump on the Belt and Road, and now this year they left the Belt and Road.
Yeah,
and because like there were so many broken promises, and on top of the broken investment promises, their trade deficit with China ballooned. So they're just like, why are we even here?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, they realized that like they did this Belt and Road thing to try and facilitate trade with China, and like countries like Germany that were not part of the Belt and Road still were getting better deals, and it was going better for them. So they did not get what they want.
Yeah.
What they wanted. That was a great impersonation.
Thank you.
Of
an
Super
Italian
Mario.
plumber. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now is the time to play Gamers Unbeaten, Chris.
Why? Oh, because Mario is an Italian plumber.
Yes.
Yes, this year we really ramped up the new channel, Gamers Unbeaten. Check it out.
Smooth.
Nice try.
We actually did a video about Mario. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So you should check that out.
Yeah, I'm happy with what's going on
below.
with that channel.
All right. Well, let's talk about something that's not Italian.
That narrows it down. Event Horizons.
Are we in one related to China?
A metaphorical Event
Yeah.
Horizon.